Zero. Welcome to another Speaker's Wisdom podcast with Karl Lillrud with us today. He's a professional keynote speaker, business coach. He has 27 years experience helping business get started and solve their problems. He has clients in 100 countries, 3,000 stores use Karl's methods, and he's a mentor and a consultant and an advisor to more than 150 companies. Today, we're mostly gonna talk about AI, about e-commerce, about innovation, about leadership. It's gonna be a fun one, so stay tuned for that one. Podfire.com is presenting this episode. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start and scale your own podcast, go to podfire.com. Karl, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thank you so very much. And thank you for that introduction. These days, I'm up to helping companies overcome struggles and understand how to make best use of these new technology advancements. It's not always artificial intelligence, but quite often it's part of the mix of the secret recipes, basically.
Right. So who are you advising nowadays? What type of clients do you work with? And what impact are you seeking to make in their organizations?
So I'm advising companies all over the world in get started with artificial intelligence. Many of these companies started big, making wild predictions about how they can actually manage and train their environmental setup so that they actually can predict the future in a way. But as we progress in this field, we realize that data is key to everything in a way. And if you don't have control of your data and understand the quality of your data, then it's going to be a struggle. So my advice is quite often to do something bold and aiming for the future, as well implementing some actual improvements right here where we are now that we can start using from today and onwards. Because if you don't, it's going to be a quite big challenge to keep up with all the other fast-moving companies. And as all of us know, big corporations are not fast-moving companies.
And what challenges do these big corporations face in the midst of fast-moving startups and future one-person billion-dollar AI company that we're gonna see in the next couple of years?
Yeah, the biggest concern is that they don't understand the quality of their data and how to structure data and what quality means. Then you're going to have a challenge because you're training your data set. You're training on a data set that you don't actually really trust. It's just a massive amount of information, but it's not structured in a way so that you can say what's right or wrong and so on.
Right. And by data quality, you mean that they have too much of it and they don't know how to classify that data? So what should they do at this point? Is it about having a better algorithm to filter out that data, or just to pick out their data more carefully?
Exactly. It's very much about classification, but also it's not always about the amount of data. It's the finding the spearhead in a way. Like, you don't want just a massive amount of data. You want the right type of information that proves both rights and wrongs, so that you can train a model on understanding that. So instead of going and saying, oh, now we want all the this company have in our storage facilities, basically, it's more important that you start somewhere and start small and then gradually build on that and understand how to classify the data and also how to communicate back to the training model how you actually have classified this information.
Do you feel that AI is gonna optimize most of us and not replace most of us? What's your take on that?
I personally see AI as a tool that we use to build stuff. It's gonna save time for us. It's going to help us be more efficient. And an easy way to explain it is that it's the carpenter's hammer in a way, but it's obviously more advanced than a hammer. It's more of an exoskeleton hammer that we can use to actually put that nail in and use it as that tool. It's not here to replace us, especially not in the shape and form that we're seeing today, but it is definitely here to help us in whatever work we do, more or less, and to save time. Because why should we waste time on tasks that we can hand over to someone, some computer, some AI technology that can support us, and then it delivers that back to us for us to make the decision about if this is on the type of quality that actually carries the body that we are looking for.
Right. And in terms of the next breakthroughs, because I guess most of your clients are big corporations. We've seen ChatGPT, then we've seen Gemini, and last week it seems that this year AI advancements have been a bit slower than the last year. Have you observed that? And do you think we're going to see another AI winter?
I think that just as we have seen from a consumer perspective, specifically now, from a consumer perspective, it looks like everything's been moving very, very fast. And yes, it has been moving very fast, but there is obviously a lot of groundwork that have been done for us to get to this amazing point that we are right now. But what we also see is that the training set that we have been using and that is shared for other people to actually use to quite large extent, and the open source alternatives and the crowdsourced movement, if we may call it that, it's putting a lot of pressure. It's creating opportunities that we could not have thought about even, because the competitive advancement and the capabilities of this huge crowd globally is really, really putting up an interesting opportunity for all of us. So it's going to be interesting to see if the big corporations like OpenAI, backed by Microsoft and so on, actually manage to take that type of position that it holds today and protect it, or if we consumers start to play around more like we are doing with our phones, where it's more an app-based setup, where I choose which app I like to use for a particular need and not the everything app. So today, ChatGPT is an NLP. It incorporated DALL-E. It also incorporated some other technologies using the personal GPTs and the plugins that we could see. So now it actually can access the web and many other things. But are we consumers looking for a one-stop shop, so to say? Or are we, as we've seen over the years, quite convenient in jumping between tools and choosing the tool that is best for me? Like, what type of calculator do I want? Do I want a simple one that just, because all my calculations are quite simple, or do I want a super advanced one? Do I want one that where I can use my camera to add input from paper notes and stuff like that?
When are we gonna see AI agents? When am I gonna have the option to hire agents that are more predictable instead of humans employees?
Depends on what level you're looking for. So there is already AI agents, I would say. There is already an agent trained on me that I've been training with all my data about how I communicate, my background, all my books. It's been trained on quite extensive amount of information, and that's available as a GPT in ChatGPT. So if you just go there and search for Karl Lillrud, you can actually have a conversation that will sound like the conversation that you and I are having today, that will make responses that is based on how I reason to quite large extent. So I think we're already there, but it's up to us to decide how we want to tailor these agents to actually be what we're looking for. And again, I strongly believe that we want to have a team, not one person that can do everything. We want this agent to do this particular task, and then let's say that is press release and marketing. And then we have this other agent that is your financial advisor. And then you have this other agent that is your personal assistant that can do various tasks, but maybe not have the capabilities of your financial advisor and so on.
What have you learned working at Volvo, Spotify, and then Klarna? How are these companies leveraging AI at the current moment?
These companies are big, and they are. It's funny that you pick these three companies, because I've been working with quite large amount of different types of companies over the years. But some of these companies are building AI implementations and have been doing that for many years already, based on machine learning that then progress into what we today call artificial intelligence. And some of the other companies are still trying to understand how to make best use of this technology, without naming names, because obviously I can't go into those details. But all of these companies are definitely heavy invested in these areas.
How can AI be used to prevent wars?
Yeah, good question. So I was invited to the week in Davos with World Economic Forum to actually address this question. How can we use artificial intelligence to prevent war? And this is interesting, because prevent means that stop it before it actually becomes a war. And there are so many ways we can use artificial intelligence to actually support us to be friendlier in a way. And as we've been talking about, it's all about data. So the easiest answer to your question is, let's use artificial intelligence to analyze whatever information floats around and start to identify where that information is being picked up and by what type of groups, so that we can use that information and see where there might be a friction, where there might be something that is of concern that might grow into something bigger over time. Because preventing war is not something that we do just the week before an outbreak. Preventing war is something that we do years before a potential war, or maybe decades, to stop the thought of that friction even. So I'm even considering analyzing what information our young kids going to kindergarten are exposed to. Like, how are the families communicating in the home? What words are these kids picking up from the news, and so on, so that we can see actually what opinion that they are starting to shape in that very, very early age, where they have limited understanding of the world.
So I guess also intelligence would be a part of it, and preventing, for example, the terrorist attacks of Hamas on Israel and so forth, because once lives are lost and people are massacred, then humans, they want revenge, it's like the natural instinct. If you check 9/11, it's the same, and we always want to pay for blood with blood, so that and basically never stops. So intelligence could be interesting as well. What about we're seeing like AI being for war. Do you think AI being used for war in drones, in autonomous killer bots. Do you think it can actually save lives and make war more efficient and prevent the loss of lives, or do you feel that AI for war is not a good thing?
I'm all about preventing harm in a way and using technology to do so. I believe that artificial intelligence can prevent very many harmful things that are going on. Like if we just simplify the question, we can use AI to analyze if a person are drunk or not. And based on that, we can let that person in to access his car or not. We can also, as he gains access to his car, decide on if he's allowed to drive it or not. And with that information, we can also say like, yeah, you're not allowed to drive your car. We will try to get you a cab, or we will drive you home. What do you prefer? Like, in the same way, we can use sort of the same reasoning to say like, yeah, if you want to go to that area, there is a risk of a conflict that might involve dangers for you given who you are and your age and everything. So we can make sure that people are avoiding conflict areas, and then if we see a mass movement of people, we can maybe find other ways to support them if they still make the decision to go to these areas.
Your latest book, I believe it's called AI, Your Second Brain, Evolve or Go Instinct. What is your main thesis in that book, if you can summarize it to us?
Yeah, so the book focuses on making AI available to everyone. It's basically a book of several different stories where I try to paint a picture of how people in their everyday life can use artificial intelligence to support them. So trying to remove the technical jargon and trying to remove the complexity and just simplify it all so that everybody gets started on using it in the ways that they prefer.
And what's the thesis in the book? You know, like what do you argue about?
Yeah, I take up many different situations in our life, like waking up in the morning, I feel tired. How can I improve my sleep? What can I do to actually analyze and create a better sleep pattern? And then different AI tools for that, like and playing on the concept of a day without AI and a day with AI to really paint the picture.
So what the day in my life look like in 30 to 50 years from now with AI being omnipresent?
I would say that you would most probably have more spare time, and that time you can choose to invest in whatever way you like. But I strongly believe that we will go towards finding more personal happiness, finding our own path. And maybe that means that you're more surrounded by nature in a way, and family and people that you care about and that care about you. That's my personal belief that AI will be here to support us to get more out of life. And that doesn't mean to work more hours. It means to be more efficient so that we can spend time where it really matters.
And what will be your role in the advancement of that AI in the next decade or so?
To make it more tangible, to support people in terms of making the right decisions, and to support leaders in the world, both governmental and corporate leaders, to actually dare to take the leap, but also understand the implications that lies within that leap.
And this year, what would be your top 3 goals to get there?
First of all, it's very much about stop being afraid. you need to start doing things. The second one is regulation and how to actually manage that from a high level. It's a very, very complicated and discussed matter that is not easy to answer, how to actually maintain control of these amazing opportunities or the tools behind opportunities. And the third one would be to stay in the forefront and actually don't just get stuck with ChatGPT. ChatGPT for sure is amazing. I'm not saying that, but there are so many more different AI tools that can help you in your everyday life. And you will not find out about them if you don't start looking. So start thinking about what a week looks like for you, and then maybe just write a bullet list of the different things that you do and start looking at like, okay, so maybe I want to create time for exercise. I want to eat at least one new course of food per week that is not on my every week returning schedule of what I cook in the kitchen and things like that. Like, try to add some positive things.
Where can we find out more about you, Karl?
KarlLillrud.com is the best place, and of course LinkedIn. And if you just Google my name, Karl Lillrud, then there is no one else in the world that is named that. So you will only find me there.